This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 222 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. This episode is sponsored by Kentucky Performance Products and Equisketch. This is Lindsay McCall from Jupiter, Florida.
And this is Ellie Brimmer from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show brought to you this week by the United States Para-Equestrian Association. Reese and Philip will be back with us next week. This week we have coming up, our guests are Dr. Mike Tomlinson, who is an FEI vet who works with the United States Para-Equestrian Association, and Kai Hunt, an FEI trainer and rider for his North Texas Equestrian Center. And he trains a couple of para riders, including the late Jonathan Wentz.
So what's new with you, Ellie? What have you been doing?
Well, I had a competition this weekend. It went really well. I actually I qualified for regional championships for second level adult amateur, which I was really pleased with. I wasn't expecting, but I was happy to have that, especially because it was against able-bodied riders. And so that was great. I'm not actually going to go to regionals, but I'm really glad I made that accomplishment.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks.
I know you've been working really hard lately up there in Michigan, so
yeah,
that's wonderful.
We haven't shown much this summer, so it was nice to have. It was nice to have a really good show at the closing of the season, and now we can unwind for a little bit, and then before we know it, we'll start gearing up for Florida again this next winter.
Yeah, I know those dates. Everything's kind of been solidified. I know Wellington is March 13th through the 16th now for our West Dressage Classic.
Yep, that's been provisionally approved, and
yes.
I'm looking forward to getting in front of those judges again. So it'll be great. I already have my rental all booked, and I've got a friend that's staying with me, and I have a feeling it'll be a really fun winter. I'm really excited.
Well, I'm excited because you'll get to be right here, and we can go to Backstreet's, our favorite place to eat in Wellington. I wanted to mention everything that was, I guess, solidified for the Para-Dressage Training Symposium. We're going to be doing that symposium again. November 20th is the Train the Trainer, and November 21st to the 23rd is the Rider Symposium. And you and I both went there last year, and you went as a rider. And what did you think about the one in Maine?
I loved it. I borrowed a horse, and so it was a good experience to ride something that was totally new to me. And what's really even more valuable than the actual riding and instruction is the connections you make with the other riders and trainers, because we are a scattered group throughout the country, and so it's really nice to be able to interact and pair with other para riders in a non-competition setting and really learn from one another.
And I think it was great for a lot of the trainers that maybe had not had any para-dressage training prior to this, and they really came into this and really can understand how to use a different age, how to work with their rider that is a para-dressage rider. So I think it was great for the trainers as well. So I hope we have a lot of people sign up for that. And that will be in California. Oh, and the other exciting thing I know you know about, the Chef de Keep applications. I know the applications are closing on September 5th for the new Chef de Keep for our team. So I hope we get a lot of applications from some really great trainers.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be involved in para-dressage, and I hope that there's some people out there that will consider putting themselves forward. We're going to throw to commercial for the Kentucky Performance Product. We'll be back with Dr. Mike Tomlinson.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
feeds are fortified with nutrients such as proteins, vitamins, and minerals. They are made up of a variety of ingredients that provide a particular amount of energy. Most feeds have been designed to address the needs of a certain type of horse. It is important to understand that all feeds are formulated by nutritionists to be fed in specific amounts. When the correct amount of feed is provided, the horse consumes the appropriate amount of energy and nutrients. The feeding directions included on the feed bag or the feed tag are specific to the particular feed and should be followed. When you feed less than the recommended amount of feed, your horse is not getting the full complement of nutrients that he or she may need. On the other hand, too much of a good thing can also be bad. The overfeeding of concentrates can lead to grain overload and oversupplementation, and feed should never be cut or mixed with other fortified feeds or plain grains because this changes the nutrient profile and can cause imbalances in energy, protein, vitamins, and minerals. If you need to include additional supplements in your horse's diet, choose products that are formulated to complement, not compete with fortified feeds. If you feed a plain grain such as oats, additional fortification may be necessary. Kentucky Performance Products supplements are specifically designed to complement, not compete with, the modern concentrates used by today's horse owners. Each supplement is manufactured to exacting standards in certified facilities using stringent quality control guidelines. So choose Kentucky Performance Products supplements because the horse that matters to you matters to them. Learn more about Kentucky Performance Products supplements at kppusa.com. That's kppusa.com.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
We'll be talking with Dr. Mike Tomlinson. He's an FEI vet. I've known him over the years through his work at a lot of our paraequestrian CPEDI 3-star competitions here in the United States, and also through his work with the United States Paraequestrian Association. Welcome, Dr. Mike. How are you doing?
Thank you. It's a beautiful day here in Southern California.
So why we wanted to have you on the show today is now that kind of the summer season is starting to wind down and people are looking forward to the winter and our upcoming paraequestrian CPEDIs. We always get some newcomers and some people that have been around for a little while, like me. But it's always good to know what the expectation is from a vet perspective going into an FEI competition. What are some common mistakes you see from people who are going into an international competition for the first time, paperwork-wise and things like that?
Well, I would say that the two most common misconceptions are that as far as the horse, that this is a totally different event. And in reality, as far as the horse is concerned, they don't care whether it's a backyard event or a Olympics. They're just doing their job. The other misconception is that things are pretty much the same. I've been doing the same thing, so I'll keep doing the same thing. And that works for the horse, but for the rider, it doesn't, because an international competition has a whole lot more requirements and a whole lot higher expectations on the rider.
For sure. We know that. I wish we could give more opportunities in the U.S. to have these international competitions, but we'll take what we can get.
What are some of the requirements of the riders that you're mentioning there?
Well, some of the most common mistakes would be that many people come to a 3-star, an international FEI concours, Paralympic Equestrian or Para-Equestrian Dressage International, a CPEDI 3-star. They come to them thinking that they've been to a 1-star, they've been to some other ones, so they're doing just fine. They've got an a USEF passport, so everything's good. What people need to realize is this is not a United States event. Even though it is held in the United States, it is an international event. And for an international event, you need an international passport. And that would be a purple or red FEI passport, not a breed registration or a national passport. That would be the most common paperwork issue that I see.
Do you ever see any issues with, I guess, the actual jog? Do you ever see any problems there where some people just don't know how to properly jog their horses in international competition? Or is this something you don't see?
Well, what we call the jog here, or what is called the Trot-Up in many of the other English-speaking thing, and I'm sure lots of people call it something else too, but we can't mention that on a radio show. It is where we first look at the horse trotting or jogging down the path and back. And this is only done at the higher international events as far as dressage. Other disciplines do it. Endurance does it down to the local level. Jumpers try never to do it. So it is not something that is taught to many, many, many people. So for the first time in their life, for the first time for their horse quite often, they come to an international event and go, oh no, what am I supposed to do? And they think, oh, this is easy. I just trot down, I trot back, and everything's wonderful. The most important thing for international competitors to do is to train themselves and train their horse at home so it's not a new event when they come to a CPEDI.
Just so some of our newer people at home that know, which I thought was a very interesting fact, when the horse is being jogged, it's not the vet that makes the layman's decision. It's the president of the ground jury. It's whether or not the horse passes the jog.
In dressage, in dressage at a CPEDI or a CDI, the veterinarian is not authorized to eliminate the horse at any time. However, the ground jury is required to take the advice of the veterinarian. But, that's where you start getting into some gray areas. If the vet goes, well, I'd kind of like it to be eliminated, and the ground jury goes, nah, I don't need to. So there's a lot of interplay there, but the president of the ground jury is the only one who has the authority to eliminate a horse. In a dressage event, the other person is the judge at sea, whoever that may be, has the authority to do so. But those are the only two people.
Yeah. Before I learned that, I'd gone into it with the assumption that because the vet is standing there, that the vet was the one who was making the call. But of course, the judges take your advice into account, or at least we hope.
Well, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's the game.
Kind of what's the craziest thing he's ever seen at one of those during a jog? Can you tell us any neat experiences?
Crazy things at the jog. Well, we had lots of scary things where the horses are trying to kick it at the judges, where the horses, probably the scariest one was a horse that was jogging a very well-known, very accomplished trainer down the way and kept pushing him towards the fence. And the fence was only about 3 feet high, and about halfway down, the horse just knocked the rider over, and then the horse followed him over the fence. So,
my goodness.
Lots of things occur at these. It used to be, luckily, we've gotten the attire a little better regulated. It used to be that we used to say that the less clothes that the person who is jogging is wearing, the more likely the horse is lame. So, but the thing for most CPEDI competitors to understand is that this is typically the first time for the ground jury to see them. and they need to make a very good first impression. And that first impression is made when they walk up or come up in a wheelchair, or somehow how they are presented and how they present themselves. And so dress is very important at the jog. And so some of the wilder things I've seen would be some people who look more like they should be a spectator at the Kentucky Derby, with a beautiful hat and high heels. It's amazing what people try to jog their horse in. I had one this last weekend who looked like he was in a trench coat. A spy coming out from Spy versus Spy. You see most everything at the jog.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Now the other piece of what you do is that most people recognize as the in-barn inspection. Can you go over what you're looking for when you do that?
Well, certainly. Just so to back up a little so people know the chronology of my duties there would be prior to the event, I work with the organizing committee to make sure everything is safe and that everybody will be healthy before they get there. Then the first thing I do when I get there is to examine all of the horses to make certain that they are healthy, that they do not have a contagious disease, and that their passport matches the horse who is there. Part of that is to verify that they have been properly vaccinated for influenza. And that is required to be done before the first inspection, which we discussed earlier, which is the jog. And then once the jog is over, then I am at the show, I'm ringside or at the end gate for the entire rest of the show to make certain that the welfare of the horse is paramount, that if there is in dressage, one of the big things right now is blood. And so if any horse shows any sign of blood, I'm there to go, yep, that's blood. Let's see, red stuff leaking from inside the horse. It could be Kool-Aid. Nope, it's blood. Sorry, stop. I don't know why a veterinarian is required to say that the red stuff is blood, but it's always good to have a vet say that.
Of course.
Yeah. And do you know what the most dangerous part of a dressage event, where more horses are injured than at any other time?
No, tell me.
It's at the honor round. It's where
that makes sense.
Everybody gets to turn their dressage horse loose, and they're all excited and happy, and the horses get all excited and happy, and it's the first time they've been let loose in months, and they try and play bumper ponies and kill each other. So,
yes.
What do you do, Mike, when there is such as like a lameness halfway through the competition? What do you go through? What's the process when you see that as a vet?
Well, it depends exactly when it happens. If it happens in the arena, then all I can do is sit there at the end gate just anxiously hoping that the horse makes it through, and then when it comes out, examine it. But if it happens at any other point, then I have to examine it right at that moment and try to figure out what is the best for the horse. And by that would be, if it's a leg lameness, I try and figure out what's going on with the leg. We do whatever is best for the horse, and then we backfill with the paperwork and try and make sure everything is safe from there. And, of course, that leads to what can you do for the horse? Well, we can do whatever we want for the horse because the horse is the most important thing, and then the next step is to see what's fair for the competition, and that includes the medication rules. And for FEI events, there's basically a zero tolerance of medications in horses. At the FEI level, we just do not have the drug issues that the National Federation is currently having.
My last question, because this one always concerns me as a competitor. The FEI drug rules are a lot more stringent than USCF, and I'm always trying to be very conscientious about every single product that I use to make sure that nothing could cause a positive test result. What do you have for advice for people that are looking to make sure their products are safe that they're using on their horses before they go into an FEI competition?
800-633-2472. That's 1-800-MED-HSA. And what that is, it is free for every USCF member, and obviously if you're at the FEI level, you're in the USCF member. And call them up, tell them what you're doing, tell them what you're giving or what you want to give, and they will give you a correct answer. They are the people who do the testing. They are the ones who run the lab. They know these things inside and out. That's all they do. And fabulous resource. I use them about once a week.
There's somebody always on the line all the time at that phone number.
24/7.
Well, thank you so much for being on, Dr. Mike, and I hope to see you again at another competition soon.
Definitely my pleasure.
Right after this commercial for EquiSketch, we'll be speaking with Kai Hunt, who is an FEI trainer and rider of the North Texas Equestrian Center. And Kai Hunt is, well, like I said, from the North Texas Equestrian Center. He plays many roles. He's an FEI trainer, FEI rider. He was also a horse owner of one of our Paralympic riders' horses, Jonathan Wentz's horses. And you'll notice Kai he has a German accent. He's originally from Germany, and he earned his German National Federation license in 1981. And then he came over to the U.S. and began his training, the North Texas Equestrian Center, and he now trains many people, has many national champions, and I know he specializes in the young riders. And for us, for the para-dressage riders, he's done a lot with our riders, getting them ready for competition. And like I said, he was Jonathan Wentz's coach and trainer for the last 4 years. So I'm excited to speak with him and hear what he's been doing lately.
Glenn the Geek here. The life of horse person is hard enough, and we all hate doing the required paperwork, and unfortunately many of us never get around to it, and it just piles up on our desk. That is about to change thanks to the EquiSketch Records app for your iPhone or iPad. My wife and I use it to track our horses, and we absolutely love this thing. EquiSketch Records is the most thorough and complete equestrian records app on the market today. We love this app because you can track your farrier work, your dental, your coggins, medicines, worming, and so much more. And you can get reminders on your device when all of these things are due. You'll never forget a worming or shots or farrier visit again. But it not only tracks your horse, you can also manage your horse shows, including individual events. You can manage riders, including lessons and memberships, and so much more. And you can sync it between your iPhone and your iPad, and all of this for the price of a couple of cups of coffee from Starbucks. Search for EquiSketch Records in the iOS App Store or go to EquiSketch.com. That's EquiSketch.com. EquiSketch.com.
All right, Kai, thanks for coming on the show today. And where are you right now? What are you doing?
I'm home this week for once. You're home till Friday, and on Saturday we're competing in Houston. Actually, I'm taking 3 para riders into Houston for their first shows.
Oh, wow. And what para riders are you taking?
We take the U.S. veteran, Derek, that we started up this year. So he's going to do his second show this year. We try him on a new horse. We're trying to find a new horse for him to get more competitive for next year. So Derek is going to show. Then we're going to take Ben, which was one of our upcoming young riders. He's going to do his first competition. And I'm going to take Roxy, who was up at the seminar in Maine, too, and we're going to try her out on a new horse.
Oh, wow. Great. How exciting. I didn't know. She must have traveled all the way there from Washington, huh?
Yeah, they're coming to my place. We have a few coming in here and there. Yeah, it's a good thing right now. We have a bunch of very new, exciting young riders coming up, which the program really needed. So it's a good thing to have some younger people in the sport now and start with a little bit of a clean slate and some new riders coming up and start building a team from the ground up and get some new people in the sport and interested, which will hopefully attract more young riders. And then we try to attract more U.S. veterans too, with Derek being a good ambassador for the sport,
Yeah, And that's so important. We had Derek on the show, actually, just a few months ago, and he talked a little bit about the veterans getting involved, but that is so important, and to address that. And we would love to get our veterans more involved. So as we get ready, and we're kind of getting ready for WEG in this next year, what kind of schedule? I know this is very common for you. You're used to this. What kind of schedule should a rider and horse be on as they're preparing for this international competition in 1 year?
Well, that's the thing for a new person or somebody that's not really used to international competitions. They have to really change their program or get their program adjusted. If you want to be an Olympic rider or WEG rider, my personal people train 6 to 7 days a week. They train out here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they need to do as much riding as they possibly can, and then we put them on an interval program too that they have to do. It depends really on their handicap, but we put them on programs so that they swim or do some extra sports on the side. Riding is not the best thing for everybody's body, so we're trying to keep them fit. We put them on a fitness program. They do lots of swimming, lots of exercise like that. So you got to be mentally and physically fit to compete in competition like that. Travel is exhausting, and everything to do is even more exhausting for a para rider. They have so many more challenges going out there. So you want to make very sure they're mentally and physically prepared for that kind of, strenuous competition.
Yeah.
So I recommend for the people they want to go. They should be on the program by now and be ready to do the selection trials next year and compete in the CBDIs we get coming up in Florida and California, and I don't know what else going to come up in the spring. I think we're trying to get some more.
And how do you offset any issues with, you were talking about travel and with a horse in particular? How do you offset the issues of travel fatigue on a horse? Because you're used to shipping the horses internationally. What do you guys do to prepare for that?
Well, that's just one of the things. By the time you compete in WEG, in an ideal situation, you ride a seasoned horse that is well used to international or big travel. So, you look at the Olympic jumper riders or any of the international riders. They're in a different continent every month. So those horses are used to that. They travel. The traveling has gotten very sophisticated these years. So it's not like they're some bumpy old airplane flying around there for weeks and weeks and travel by boat or something like that. They go on a plane in the air for 10 hours. They're over in Europe. It's really not that big a deal for a seasoned horse. If you have a horse that's not used to it, then it's a little bit different story. That means you need more time to acclimatize the horse. You want to be there a month early in an ideal situation. You would like to go to Europe a month early, especially in the summertime. If you come from Texas, it's 110 degrees, and you go up there, that's a big shock on the system of the horse. So you probably want to make sure that your horse is well traveled, has done lots of competitions prior to going, then maybe has a little bit of rest, is in good shape. Rest from traveling, not rest from exercise, and then go over there and try to get there as early as you possibly can to acclimatize the horse.
Yeah, that's really smart.
Now, this is a big undertaking, not just physically and emotionally, but it's also a big financial undertaking. And I know how do you suggest that riders seek out sponsors and support?
Yeah, since I'm one of the sponsors for one of the last Olympic riders, I know how they picked me out. They just came to my door and said, "Hey, we need somebody sponsored for the Olympics." And I mentioned that I love looking for one like that too. It's hard to find sponsors right now. We deal with lots of paras. That's the first question. It's always come. It's a very expensive sport. You got to have a big, hairy animal that eats, drinks, and chews, and transport everything else. You got to ship it all over the world. You got to compete on it. So it's a big financial strain on the competitor or the family. The one thing you got to be prepared to do, you have to show something that people will sponsor you. You cannot go out and have nothing, have never been competed, have never done anything, have a big dream, and then think that somebody's going to go out there and give you vast amounts of money or horses, whatever else to compete. So I would recommend for anybody, the first thing you got to do is write yourself a good portfolio, get yourself on Facebook, get yourself busy with USPEA, volunteer, get out there, get your face known, and hope that you find yourself a horse somewhere that you can compete on, and then work your tail off and get competitive. Sponsors like winners. So if you have the desire to do this, and you don't have the financial possibilities, find yourself some kind of way, get yourself competition, just work hard, anybody else does, you'll compete well too. And at that point, if you have a portfolio you can show to some sponsors, they will sponsor you. But if you don't compete, you don't go out anywhere, nobody's going to sponsor you because sponsors are looking for exposure. There's no exposure, then you cannot provide anything. You're going to have a very hard time finding somebody, especially in this day and age.
You and I were at the Developing Rider Clinic in Maine, and there were quite a few new riders, some of which you've mentioned are going to come work with you in Texas. What do you think of these new riders that are coming up through the ranks?
Well, I'm really excited getting a bunch of younger riders in the sport now. I think I'm always, I'm doing young riders now. I think I've been now in North American Young Riders, I think 9th time in a row. So we always train a lot of young riders for the FEI competitions. We always had a very large amount of kids riding here in the barn. And I was always a big supporter of the Young Rider program. Now we have a very good Young Rider coach now. That program works. That program works really well now. With a new coach out there, gets the kids excited. He has a good program going out there, and I think we need the same thing for para too, because you can't cut yourself on your feet. You need a base, and your base is young people. Young people are excited about the sport. They're willing. They jump on a bit. They want to go out. They want to compete. They want to do something. And that will grow your sport because you have long-time competitors out there. They can compete for the next 15, 20, 30, 40 years and become seasoned veteran good riders if they start younger in the program. And I'm really happy about so many young kids out there competing now. Plus, they're going to attract more kids. If you get a broader exposure and there's more advertising with children out there or young riders out there competing, that will get you more riders on the basis on there. I had a long discussion with Clive from England about that, and he said at their national finals they have 600 riders. And they start at the age. They have a huge program for 4, 5, 6-year-olds. Why do you think the British are beating everybody all the time? They start with these kids when they're 6 years old. They have cones in the arena. The kids ride a 10-meter circle. It's a 10-meter circle. They ride a corner. It's a corner. They ride very precise from day one on. They have a very structured program. They have a huge kids program. Out of that, they pick their top international riders in the end. So I'm pretty happy about seeing that our program is growing in that direction.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad to see so much more interest in the young riders. And do you see a difference since you mentioned you've trained so many teams, the young rider teams over the years. Do you see a difference in training an able-bodied young dressage rider versus the para-dressage young rider?
Well, I mean, you have all the challenges the para rider has. The trainers need to understand there's a huge difference between training a para rider to training an able-bodied rider. On an able-bodied rider, you look for equitation. My riders won equitation championships twice. So you look for equitation. You want people that sit perfect on a horse, good position, supple hips, supple hands. But if you have a 1A or 1B rider, you don't have that. These are extremely challenged riders. They have maybe Jonathan had zero hip movement for one thing as an example. So you got to put these people in a position that they can stay on a horse. And then you got to work from that. On a para rider, you kind of find a way how they can balance and work themselves on the horse in the ideal situation. They can stay up there and steer and control the horse and ride his test. Then after they can do that and they can ride a precise test, whichever position it takes to put him up there, then you can start refining him and fine-tune the whole thing to make it look better. But you're looking at a totally different program if somebody has a leg missing or no use of a leg or arm or forget a blind rider or something like that. So the whole approach from the coach has to be totally different. You got to first see how you can put this person on a horse, use his aids, use his distanciation aids, everything to make him the most effective he can be on a horse. That's probably the best way of putting it. So you're looking at a different story. If you have a young rider on a program, they ride FEI. It means they already know how to ride a very high level of sport. That means you're working more on getting the horse right because you expect that rider already to be a good rider at that point.
Right. Now, Kai, Jonathan and Richter were such a great match, even though Richter wasn't exactly your classical dressage horse. What do you look for when you're matching a horse rider combination?
You need to always see what you want to do in the first place. Do you want a national level para rider, or would you want an international level para rider, right? And I think that's one thing by the program is you split up a little bit because people, they want to compete nationally, have like a national title, right, on the local level, or people, they want to go to WEG, Olympics, maybe Pan Am Games one day, maybe North American Young Riders one day. That's where you got to split it up. For us now, I mostly train competition riders right now. The para world, you don't need a super, super big moving horse. You need a horse with very good basic gaits. Obviously with the 1A, 1B, and 2, you got to have a horse with a fantastic walk because most of their testers walk. They do a lot of walk work. So you got to have a very good walk on a horse, and the horse has to maintain that walk even with a rider that may interfere here and there. Pull on the reins, get some spasm up there, get unstable. That horse has to walk. And that was Richter was really good about. He had a fantastic walk. Super active, great overstep, free walk, stretches nose down, really good. And then you got to have a super rhythmic, active trot. These horses got to go like metronomes. And that's what the para judges want to see. They're less concerned about super big gaits, but they're very concerned about a very good connection and a very steady, very rhythmic, and very engaged performance in the ring. So for a para rider, the key thing is to find first a horse that will tolerate the para up there, whichever you put on there, and second, to find something that goes very rhythmic, very active, and very steady to the test. Which is most true for like the 1s and the 2s. The 3s, they ride a second level test almost. It gets a little more into a performance horse. The grade 4s is a different story. At the grade 4, they want an FEI horse. Right. You have to have a horse in the pre-St. George frame going FEI, doing a fantastic trot, fantastic walk, fantastic canonical, very connected. The 4 is a little bit different category.
And you mentioned at the Paralympics you were the main coach for Jonathan, and I was wondering, I noticed you had 4 individual coaches where you were coaching John, Wes was coaching Donna, and Roz was coaching Gail, and you had these 4 coaches coaching their own riders. How did you guys work together as a team to address trying to get a medal?
Well, we had a national coach with us at Missy as chef to keep with us, so she was in charge of everything,
Right.
So I think at the Olympics this time, everybody pretty much did a little bit their own thing, and we just got overseen by Missy doing that whole program there. And I mean, obviously, by the time you go to the Olympics, everybody knows what they're doing. I coached the U.S. I was chef to keep one time in Mexico when we won the Nations Cup. And we had team meetings every day out there, So we had a team meeting every day. We had a debrief every day after the show, So, and I worked with some of the other coaches together. It needs to be like overseen. Somebody just needs to talk to the coaches a little bit. You cannot train individual students because they coach with their coach, which makes it a bit difficult, Most of the European teams have a head coach and they take care of everything. They coach the cast, they coach the riders and everything else. In the U.S., due to the geographical, as big as this country is, it's very difficult to have just one coach everybody.
Right.
You got to have somebody out that can go out there and oversee these coaches, talk to them, have a good relationship with them, and just give them some tips and help them out. Say, here, maybe you try this. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, you look really bad. And try to oversee it in that kind of situations, oversee the coaches. And I think what we need to try to do is establish a better relationship with the coaches over the year before we go to competitions. And all the coaches need to know each other. You want to have like the training seminar we had in Maine was a very good thing, that the coaches can talk to each other, you can see each other, you can see who works well together with each other, and that they all have a certain respect for each other, work together to try to get a good team competition out there.
Yeah, I think that's very important. So I guess what are you seeing for us for the future? What do we need to do to get on the medal podium this next year?
Okay, next year.
Or in a couple years, perhaps.
Right. Right now, I think we had a very good showing at the Olympics. Obviously we had a 4th and a 5th place at the Olympics. We got a little bit out of the team competition. It was very close, the team competition. It wasn't that far apart. I don't know how many riders from the actual Olympics are selected at this point. I know Rebecca is still showing, who's a very strong rider for years and years and years, was multiple time national champion, has lots of show experience. She's kind of like the senior riders out there. So Rebecca is a very good rider. I don't know what the other riders are doing right now. Lots of them had horse problems. So I haven't seen much as far as the team competition coming up or us having a team for the WAG together yet. I hope something is developing in the spring. I obviously will work on getting some people out there, but I think we kind of, as far as a nation, we're in kind of a rebuilding phase right now, and we have some very good young talent coming up. So I would think that we're going to be very likely competitive in the next 3-4 years. for next year, I don't know what we're going to have for WAG yet.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously have a couple seasoned people out there, but we have a couple very young people coming up, and I don't know how far they're going to be in the spring by the time we have the CPDIs coming up in the spring. As far as competition goes, I'm working really hard right now getting some horses found for some of the riders, so we can find some sponsors, finding some horses, finding something to get them out there. But it's a very short time right now to get something ready. You know, obviously the Europeans are up on their game right now. You know, I mean, they just had a competition in England. They were scoring all in the high 70s, you know, in the 80s. And we don't have anything like that running right now. You know, you've got to be a little realistic about what you have. And once in a while, I think you have to take a step back, organize your program at home, and start back up and get something going that you can say, okay, now we have some people we can work with 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years and have something very competitive coming out for the next Olympics.
Well, Kai, you're so involved with our para riders and our young riders, and I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your experiences and all of your information with us. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Ellie, I know we need to give a shout out to our great British team because they did quite well at those European Championships.
Yeah, they really cleaned up, and also there were a few individuals from some other countries that did really well, like Teppo Puch from Austria. I know he was one of our favorites. He's a 1B. So I was happy to see him do so well. But it was exciting. I hope I can catch up with it on FEI TV. I haven't catched if it's available yet. So,
I don't know. I haven't seen it there yet. I know that I saw a press release go out, but I have not seen it there yet. Maybe it is.
All right. Oh, and also we should mention Lindsay. I know we had a paraequestrian driving clinic in August that you were. That we were promoting, and I've heard some feedback from some people that went to it, and they just had a wonderful time. So I hope our paraequestrian drivers have some exciting new competitors in their ranks.
Yeah, we know Hope Hamden actually went over there and started para driving, and her and Lisa Miller, who's also part of our para dressage program, they have decided now that they're going to get a pony and they're going to start driving. So we're very excited that they went to this clinic because I think they found a new love.
That's fabulous.
You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search for Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can learn more about the United States Para-Equestrian Association at uspea.org and, of course, on Facebook. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com or on the iOS or Android app. Remember, one man's wrong lead is another man's counter-canter.